At the end of the day, what I've what I've found is that here's another example, or in regards to podcasting. So the property was a podcast. That's about commercial real estate and investing inside that space. So I work with a commercial realtor here in Ottawa. So actually, that was the first place I started podcasting, and that's where Carl connected, and then Carl then connected Wayne to me. So that's kind of like the trail. The podcast itself helps broadcast out to people outside your circle what's going on. Now the investment in real estate, here in Ontario is going to be different maybe than Quebec. But it's going to be different in the U.S. and it's in the U.S. is dependent on the state, etc. But the rules, the general overall points of concern are still the same. Like you got to get the money, you got to make sure the everything is as it is, or as it's the bill of goods is real, right? And then how much is the bill of goods going to to keep it up and running, right, from the real estate perspective. So a lot of these things apply universally. I do have a highlight in my podcast going, "Hi, this is not your ultimate advice. Go seek local advice for before you begin a venture, because that's up to you. This is to inform you that there's information out there." Which is the next part of it. Is sometimes if you don't know what you don't know, this might be something you need to know, right? And so that fills an information gap. I've talked to a lawyer out of Texas. He does wills and estates. It has nothing, it has no, he can't provide you legal advice here in the province of Ontario. Or that said, the structure of the ideas, the points to bring up as a business owner, for example, because the knack for business centers around the business space. Well, what do you have to have? Well, then you talk to your legal counsel here in Ontario, and all of a sudden, well, this is how it works here. All right, and then but you've already asked the question, as opposed to you're unknowing about something and you should have asked at the
It
side of
sort
the
of
road.
it sort of opened the door for you to learn, and not necessarily just in your backyard, globally, and see if those learnings can be applied here. That's where I'm, or vice versa, or if there's anything here that can be applied out there, right? Too, because I noticed like some of my podcasters too, they are not necessarily in the industry that I'm in. They're not necessarily in the same geographical area that I'm in. I'm like you, like some of my guests, they come from different parts of the world. And I was actually lining up my first podcast in Arabic. I'm going to do the
Hey,
entire episode in in Arabic. Now I've spoken Arabic, all my childhood life. I'm rusty, so I got to brush up on that stuff and see if I can put it together. And I promised I had to make the potential guest. I promised to me that he will take it easy on me.
but yeah, the beautiful thing with that is the technology. Even if even what's being enunciated in another language, you can get it translated, even if it's a scrolling script underneath. So you might have to tweak it a bit, but the opportunities are there, so you can make it a universal communication. Because the one thing I realized from working inside the hospital, it does not matter where you're from. The pain points are still the same pain points. The what was it? There was a husband that was talking to me. He says, "Oh, I need a shelf here." Because it was an apartment hotel. I need a shelf here. And looking at it, going, well, why would you want a shelf there? Because the wife would like it there. And I'm going, you know what? I totally understand where you're coming from. And okay. And the only thing I'm doing there is just to make sure he understands, the restrictions or constrictions in this case. For me, it was none. There are no issues. I want 20 shelves here. I'll put 20 shelves here for you. Uh, but your fridge might not open full swing, right? So heads up on that, right? So just as long as you're happy and you understand what you're doing, uh, we'll go for it, right? And it's reversible, so it's not a permanent change. That said, that particular instance, that gentleman's from Southeast Asia, right? But again, same deal, right? It's just we all operate in the same way. We may not speak the same language, we may not look the same, right? Ethnicity wise, but yeah, still the same stuff under the hood.